excited to get to this reading, so I'll just make this a really easy trivia question. Give me Matthew McConaughey's famous three-word line. What's the McConaughey quote that he says? 3 words. Be the first to say it. Get pinned to the top of the comments. Elf. We are reading about Elf, starring Will Ferrell tonight because it's the season. I had to debate I'm gonna do like a bunch of them, just so you know. I'll be doing Elf, The Grinch, the movie and the animated, probably A Christmas Story, Home Alone, like all of them, but I had to think of which one to kick it off with, and it was between Elf and The Grinch, and Elf won on a small poll from the people in my house. So, for all you Elf fans, here we go. Elf is a 2003 American Christmas comedy film directed by Jon Favreau, written by David Berenbaum, and starring Will Ferrell and James Caan, with Zooey Deschanel, Mary Steenburgen, Daniel Day, Bob Newhart, and Ed Asner in supporting roles. The film centers on Buddy, a human raised by Santa's elves, who learns about his origins and heads to New York City to meet his biological father. Elf was released in the United States on November 7th, 2003 by New Line Cinema and became a major critical and commercial success, grossing $220 million worldwide against a $33 million budget. Ferrell's performance as Buddy the Elf was praised by critics and audiences alike, with many calling it one of his best performances. The film inspired the 2010 Broadway musical Elf the Musical and NBC's 2014 stop-motion animated television special Elf, Buddy's Musical Christmas. It is often listed among the greatest Christmas films of all time. Plot. On Christmas Eve, a baby at an orphanage crawls into Santa Claus's sack and is unknowingly taken back to the North Pole. After the child is discovered at the workshop, the elves name him Buddy after his diaper's brand label, and Papa Elf adopts him. Buddy is accepted by the elf community and grows up thinking he is an elf, but soon learns that he is really a human. Papa Elf explains that Buddy was born to Walter Hobbs and Susan Wells, and that Susan put him up for adoption prior to her death. Walter now works as a children's book publisher at the Empire State Building in New York City, unaware of Buddy's existence. Santa reveals that Walter is on the naughty list due to his selfishness, but suggests Buddy could help redeem Walter. Buddy travels to New York and finds Walter at work, but Walter mistakes him for a Christmas-gram messenger and has him ejected. Buddy heads to a local Gimbel's department store and meets Jovi, an unenthusiastic employee with whom he is instantly smitten. Hearing that Santa will be at the store the following day, Buddy redecorates the store overnight. However, upon realizing that the Gimbel's Santa is not the genuine article, Buddy unmasks him and causes a brawl in the store, resulting in Buddy being arrested. Walter reluctantly bails Buddy out and takes him for a DNA test, confirming that Buddy is his biological son. The doctor convinces Walter to take Buddy home to meet his stepmother Emily and half-brother Michael. Walter and Michael are unnerved by Buddy's strange behavior, but Emily insists that they can care for him until he recovers. Michael warms up to Buddy after they defeat a gang of bullies in a snowball fight and encourages Buddy to ask Jovi out on a date, which she accepts. During the date, the two fall in love. Meanwhile, Walter's publishing company is failing after their latest book flops. Walter's boss, Fulton Greenway, interrupts the meeting and mistakes Finch, who has dwarfism, for an elf. Buddy unintentionally insults Finch before the latter attacks him and leaves the meeting, upon which Walter loses his temper and disowns Buddy. Heartbroken, Buddy writes an apology note on an Etch-a-Sketch and leaves Walter's apartment. Upon finding Finch's notebook full of ideas, Walter and his team scramble to create a book to pitch. As Walter prepares to pitch the book to Greenway, Michael arrives and informs Walter of Buddy's departure. Realizing his mistake, Walter quits his job and walks out with Michael to find Buddy. Meanwhile, Buddy sees Santa's sleigh crash in Central Park, attracting a large crowd. Santa explains that the sleigh's engine is lost and cannot fly without it due to a shortage of Christmas spirit. Buddy finds the engine and reunites with Walter and Michael. After he takes them to meet Santa, Michael takes Santa's list and reads it in front of television news cameras gathered outside the park, proving that Santa is real. A group of Central Park Rangers, who are angry at Santa for placing them on the naughty list, chase the sleigh as Buddy tries to reattach the engine. Jovi leads the crowd and those watching on television in singing Santa Claus is Coming to Town, raising enough Christmas spirit to fully power the sleigh without the engine. That following Christmas, Buddy writes a book about his life, which becomes a bestseller and allows Walter to establish his own publishing company. Buddy also marries Jovi and brings their newborn daughter Susie to visit Papa Elf. Let's talk about the production. Development. David Barenbaum initially wrote the script in 1993, with Chris Farley and Jim Carrey being early candidates to play Buddy. Barenbaum's screenplay underwent uncredited rewrites by Scott Armstrong, Chris Henchy, and the writing team of Adam McKay and Will Ferrell. Gary Shandling was offered the role of Walter Hobbs but declined. Wanda Sykes was originally cast as the Gimbals manager Wanda but later dropped out. According to Favreau, the script was initially much darker and did not interest him, although he was interested in working with Ferrell's first post-SNL movie. Asked to rewrite it, a turning point came when he realized he could make Buddy's world an homage to the Rankin Bass Christmas specials. This allowed him to conceive of a movie that could be PG rated as opposed to the original script, which he guessed would have been rated PG-13. As for filming, principal photography began on December 2nd, 2002, and wrapped on March 7th, 2003. Filming took place in New York City, as well as in Vancouver and at Riverview Hospital in Coquitlam, British Columbia. The film makes heavy use of forced perspective to exaggerate the size of Buddy compared to all other elves. Stop-motion animation was employed for certain sequences. CGI usage was kept to a minimum due to Favreau's own preference, something that he would later note he had to fight very hard for. Zooey Deschanel's singing was not in the original script, and Favreau added it when he learned she was a singer. When Buddy starts singing in the middle of Santaland at Gimbals, the lyrics were not scripted and Will Ferrell improvised the song on the spot. Post-production. Apart from the snow, most of the computer-generated imagery, CGI, in the film was created by Rhythm and Hues Studios. Buddy's belch after drinking a 2-liter bottle of Coca-Cola was real, although it was not an actual belch, but a vocal trick dubbed by voice actor Maurice LaMarche. Reception. Box office. Elf grossed $176.6 million in the United States and Canada, and $47.2 million in other territories, for a worldwide total of $223.9 million against a production budget of $33 million. The film opened at number 2 at the box office in the US with $31.1 million, finishing behind The Matrix Revolutions, also in its first week. It topped the box office on its second week of release, beating out Master and Commander: The Far Side of the World. In the United Kingdom, it opened second behind Love Actually. The 2018, 19, and 2020 reissues earned $442,000, $786,000, and $2 million, respectively. The critical response. On Rotten Tomatoes, Elf holds an approval rating of 85% based on 194 reviews and an average rating of 7.05 out of 10. The website's critical consensus reads, "A movie full of Yuletide cheer. Elf is a spirited, good-natured family comedy, and it benefits greatly from Will Ferrell's funny and charming performance as one of Santa's biggest helpers." On Metacritic, the film has a weighted average score of 64 out of 100 based on 38 critics, indicating generally favorable reviews. Audiences polled by CinemaScore gave the film an average grade of A- on an A+ to F scale. Roger Ebert gave it 3 out of 4 stars, calling it one of those rare Christmas comedies that has a heart, a brain, and a wicked sense of humor, and it charms the socks right off the mantelpiece. Writing for Rolling Stone, Peter Travers gave the film 2 out of 4 stars, saying, "Ferrell makes the damn thing work. Even though he can't get naked or use naughty words, there's a devil of comedy in Ferrell, and he lets it out to play." Director Jon Favreau has the good sense to just stand out of his way. The Hollywood Reporter gave the film a positive review, saying, "While the words instant holiday classic might be pushing it, Elf is at the very least a breezily entertaining, perfectly cast family treat." A.O. Scott of the New York Times also gave the film a positive review, saying, "Elf is a charming, silly family Christmas movie, more likely to spread real joy than migraine, indigestion, and sugar shock. The movie succeeds because it at once restrains its sticky, gooey, and good cheer and wildly overdoses it." Anna Smith of Empire magazine gave the film a 3 out of 5 stars and said, "Ferrell's man-child invites sympathy and snickers, making this amusing despite some flimsy plotting. Sight gags and Santa-centered story should keep the kids happy too." Plugged In gave the film a positive review, writing, "The elf-reared buddy has a heart as big as the Arctic North. Does his movie match it?" And there are some accolades, wins, nominations, critics' rankings. Home media. The film was released on DVD and VHS on November 16th, 2004, and on Blu-ray on October 28th, 2008. It is also available for the PlayStation Portable with Universal Media Disc. This is one of the only 2 DVDs to be PG rated under the Infinifilm label. The musical. A Broadway musical based upon the film ran on Broadway during the 2010 Christmas season. It was directed by Casey Nicholaw, with music by Matthew Sklar, lyrics by Chad Beguelin, and a book by Bob Martin and Thomas Meehan. The musical officially opened at the Al Hirschfeld Theater on November 10th, 2010, after previews from November 2nd, 2010. The cast included Sebastian Arsalas as Buddy, Amy Spanger as Jovi, Beth Leavell as Emily, Mark Jacoby as Walter, Matthew Gumley as Michael, Valerie Wright as Deb, Michael McCormick as Mr. Greenway, Michael Mandel as Store Manager, and George Wendt as Santa. It ran to January 2nd, 2011. As for the music, the soundtrack was released on New Line Records in November 2003 in the United States and in October 2005 in the UK, including its signature song Baby It's Cold Outside by Deschanel and Leon Redbone, releasing it as a single. It was certified gold by the RIAA in April 2011, having sold 695,000 copies in the United States. It is the second highest selling soundtrack album for a Christmas-themed film since Nielsen SoundScan started tracking music sales in 1991, behind only The Polar Express. I'll actually go through the tracks, starting with Pennies from Heaven by Louis Prima, Sleigh Ride by Ella Fitzgerald and Frank DeVol Orchestra, Let It Snow, Let It Snow, Let It Snow by Lena Horne, Sleigh Ride Santa Claus Party by Ferrante and Teicher, Les Baxter, Baby It's Cold Outside by Leon Redbone and Zooey Deschanel, Jingle Bells by Jim Reeves, The Nutcracker Suite by Brian Setzer, Christmas Island, Leon Redbone, Santa Baby by Eartha Kitt and Henry Renee Orchestra, Winter Wonderland by Ray Charles, Santa Claus is Coming to Town by Eddie Arnold, and Nothing from Nothing by Billy Preston. The score to the film, composed and conducted by John Debney and performed by the Hollywood Studio Symphony, was released by Varisi Sarabande. Animated special. Elf Buddy's Musical Christmas is an hour-long stop-motion animated musical television special based on the film and the musical of the same name. While Edward Asner was the only cast member from the film to reprise his role, the rest of the cast included Jim Parsons as Buddy, Mark Hamill as Walter Hobbs, Kate McJucci as Jovi, Rachel McFarlane as Emily Hobbs, Max Charles as Michael Hobbs, and Gilbert Gottfried as Mr. Greenway. It was produced by Warner Brothers Animation and first aired on NBC on December 16th, 2014. It features songs from the musical. The video game. A video game based on the film was released on November 4th, 2004 for the Game Boy Advance, developed by Humansoft and published by Crave Entertainment. The game follows the same plot as the movie. Within the game, the player has to collect candies through each level while avoiding various objects and polar bears. The game received mixed to positive reviews by critics. The canceled sequel. On September 18th, 2013, Mental Floss reported that Favreau was interested in making a sequel to the film titled Elf 2: Buddy Saves Christmas. Later in December 2013, Farrell stated that he does not want to make a sequel. In January 2016, Favreau stated that a sequel could still happen. The next month, Farrell reiterated that a sequel was unlikely and stated that he was generally reluctant to do sequels unless there was a story that justifies it. On September 18th, 2020, James Caan reaffirmed that a sequel was unlikely, stating that Farrell and Favreau did not get along. Come on, you're gonna end it on drama. This classic holiday movie, I call it a classic now. When I was a kid, classics were movies like A Christmas Story and the animated Grinch, not even the Jim Carrey yet. It's because I'm old, but it's okay. I'm happy. Don't you worry about me. I'm happy with my Christmas hat. What is this hat exactly? Am I an elf? Do elves wear candy cane hats? No, they don't. Elves look like Link and Peter Pan. What the heck is going on here? Why do elves look like Peter Pan? Okay, happy holidays. I'm gonna go do a Grinch one now. This was a really short one, but I really like doing movie readings. They're short. I get to read the plot in them, which really reads like a short story, the way Wikipedia lays it out, so that's super fun. It's like I get to read people short stories to sleep, you know, and that makes me happy. I like that. And then also I just like learning behind the scenes. In my opinion, movie readings are the perfect reading, because because they're not too long. They're not soul crushing like that Dwayne Johnson one I just did. They're perfect. They get everything in there. Only like 20 minutes long, 25. You can bet I'm going to be doing more movie readings. Speaking of which, I'm off to do The Grinch. Okay. Have a good night, everyone. Let me know what movies you want to see. Let me know what holiday movies you want in particular. And I'll talk to you in the comments. Bye-bye.